Chas Galchaut is Quis Uplesinum Kla. My name that I'm known to the land is Uplesinum Kla, Thunder and Lightning. I am a member of the Colville Confederated Tribes, and today I'm here to speak to the children and to all the people. I've been traveling the nation the last 4 years and learning a lot about humanity. I've been an educator to our children and developing prevention programs now for a couple of decades. I love to share the wisdom and the knowledge which is contained in our Chaptil stories, which is our creation stories of our people. We call these our Chaptil. These are the stories that have been passed down for generation after generation since time immemorial. Some people say these are many thousands of years that these stories have been passed down from family member to family member, and I'm really honored to learn these stories and share these stories with the children. There's many creation stories that we have that talk about the very creation of time. And these stories have been passed down through our oral traditions. And one of the stories that I've shared recently on the TED Talk that I'd done was how food was given. And with many of their stories, they talk about, they acknowledge that our responsibilities to always have respect and awareness of where our foods and our medicines come from. And this story here to me is one of the most important ones, because a lot of times these days we take animals for granted. You know, we come down here on the highway and we see deer getting hit, laying there, on the side of the road. We encroach on where they live, by Western expansion into all of the homes that are being built, the wind tunnels, and many things that eradicate, the animal species, the radiation, the fracking of water, and the mining, and a lot of things that pollute the waters, pollute the air, and pollutes the food sources for all of those animals, but also the plants. In this modern world that we live in, you often hear people say only the strong will survive, and they talk about the rich and the famous, and they only talk about me, look at me. It's individualistic society, and where dog eat dog world in some case, and these are the teachings that I like to share, because I think it would help people, to understand a little bit about their ego. And I think that's very necessary that we teach this at a very early age, because in schools there's a lot of bullying, there's a lot of racism, and there's a lot of stereotypes. And I want our children to break those barriers down that separate us. And to me, I find it encouraging to tell these stories, because these are the stories that have enhanced our people's life in a way that they live very beautifully with unity and harmony with one another. And this is something that we can encourage our brothers and sisters of all colors, no matter where they live in the world, is through our indigenous stories. Each one of our tribe, no matter where you live or reside here on Turtle Island, which is now known as North and South America, the North American continent, each one of our tribes have our own language. We have our own creation stories. We have our healing songs. We have our own identity. and our way of life that was passed down through our creation stories. And here we refer to our creation stories as chaptil. And we say inihum kasapi, a long time ago that these stories were created. And we understand that the value's importance, but our identity is through these stories that were passed down since time immemorial. And on here, this Tamhula, this Mother Earth, and just like you look at the moon, the sun, you look at the four seasons, you look at a bird's nest, you look at the wind, and you look at life. Everything is a circle. And within the circle, there is no beginning and no end. And we understand the circle of life and this continuous circle that has been here since the very beginning of time. And we honor our place in that circle. We don't come here and say we are right here. We are above everything and everything else is below me. And that's the issue that we're finding out in modern society is we have people who have become very rich and they put themselves before everything. And when we say there's no beginning, no end, that also our decisions that we make, also we understand that it affects the future generations. So our people have always made decisions with the future, our children that are yet to come. We always think of them in all that we do, but not only humans, but we understand the sacred relationship with the animals, the water, the trees, and so forth, that we also must be protectors and the voice for them in all that we do. And that's balance. Right now, we are at a time of climate change where the longevity of our tamhula and our health is disrupted. The circle has been broken, and this is where we are right here, right now, as a whole. And that means everyone is now going to be affected. For many, many generations, the indigenous voice has been silenced. Our presence have been silenced. It was only when I was in junior high did our indigenous people even have a right here in the United States of America to freedom of religion. You know, when I grew up, our Indian kids would not even be dressed in this way. Many children had learned assimilation through the genocide that has taken place here to our culture. And it's only now that our people have been getting even stronger. So I always pay much respect to those people who stood strong during the termination era, you know, the 60s and the 70s. And through them and through our elders that these stories, our language, and our culture have been passed on. And we are the generation here right now to promote this education and stories and awareness. And my hope is to travel to schools and to promote indigenous education and culture into our school systems. This is the things that are being left out. I work in movies and film, documentaries, and so forth to keep promoting our indigenous culture and to break down these stereotypes. Our way is a very loving way. And through our creation stories, we are taught the value of the water. We are taught the value of Mother Earth. We are taught the value of the trees and the plant medicines, the four-legged and the animals. We are taught that their sacrifice to us through our creation story of how food was given to the people, that the chiefs at that time had to choose what to do to help us, and they sacrificed themselves. And that is the plants that grow under the ground, the plants that grow above the ground, the four-leggeds, those that live in the water. They all are our food sources. And through our creation stories, we understand how they made a sacrifice to us to help us and to give us these songs, these healing songs, and show us where medicines are. They showed us how to live through the four seasons, and they taught us how to gather so we didn't come to a place and over-harvest it. We only took what was needed. We were a sharing and generous people. We helped one another, and vice versa. Everyone was taken care of. Everyone had plenty, as long as we maintained that balance and that reciprocation and respect. Always took only what we needed, and we took things with honor and care and dignity. We were not wasteful. And in that way, our people lived, in good relationship with Mother Earth, nature. And when the first settlers arrived, you even hear different documents that some of them referred to this. Many of the indigenous places they want is the Garden of Eden, just because of the food, what now they refer to as food forest. But our people knew how to live with the land, and the trails that we traveled were always well planted, so anywhere we traveled, there was food. Sometimes if they would find salmon, like my great uncle would say, they would even hang salmon up on the trees. Wintertime, somebody comes along the trail, and there's that salmon dried out by the tree. So that food would be there for them, for whoever. Or if we had food, we'd leave food. So people always had food, and we took care of each other in that way. And so forth is with the teachings. We had a great respect for our teachings. So during the winter time, that was a time that we traveled less, and we shared our chaptil, our creation stories. So the elders would talk to the children and talk to them about these stories, the values. And in this way, the children grew up with wisdom. They grew up with understanding, where people didn't have to tell them, don't steal, don't talk bad about that person. Don't be saying ugly things, don't be being lazy. They would grow up through these creation stories and understand that. Year after year, they would understand it just through these stories. And that is a great sacred wisdom. That way our kids, they weren't like modern day bullies, they weren't racist in a way, because even through our creation stories, just like the drum, I'm a singer, I sing at powwows, and often they refer to this as the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And these songs, they've been passed down. Many of our songs have been passed down also through our stories of creation. The animals also who have their songs and have passed them down to us, and with many teachings as well. So I like to share some of those at some times, as well as I'm a song carrier. I have my own song that was given to me that I share, and with those who are looking for courage, or sometimes when I need courage, I sing that song. So with the songs, we could go to a whole nother series of talk just on songs and all of these different stories. But to me, I just wanted to acknowledge through our creation stories the sacrifice of the animals, the plants, and so forth, and to acknowledge our creation and understanding of our brothers from around the world, and that we knew that they would come back and that we would help teach them, we would help to feed them, we would take care of them in that way with our education. So I'm really honored, just to share these few stories with you, that our relatives, that they'll understand, that they will create opportunities to learn, so they could understand this world that we live in. They will understand their relationship to the elements that are here. They will understand their responsibilities in living here, to not be wasteful, to not be greedy, to not to be destructful to all of these things. And just like the circle, to not put themselves up above or below. Because in the circle, along with all these things in nature, we are all equal in the eyes of the Creator. If we want to restore balance and harmony to this world, and that's our task, that's our responsibility, is to find unity. And that's one of the things I'm grateful and blessed today, is to share this love that is often referred to as humanity. Lem Lem.